Hello all you adorable fluff butts. It's time again for another rant, and this one is one I've been thinking of for a long time now. Our community is fairly friendly to just about everyone from every walk of life, or at least we were at one point. Though lately I've noticed something growing in our community that challenges that. There's been a discussion for a long time now in the community on whether or not it's appropriate for older furs to actively remain a part of the furry fandom, with some people even demanding that adults remove themselves from the community as a whole. There's a strange lack of understanding in this issue, and I figured I'd point out why this weird form of age discrimination is becoming an issue, and why it really shouldn't be. You see, furry is more than just a hobby in some cases. We're a community of like-minded individuals with a shared interest in a weird and wonderful subject, anthropomorphics. We dream up, create, and showcase many wonderful works from within our community, be it drawings or paintings, music meant to capture the heart or tickle a few funny bones, videos and animation clips designed to inform, inspire, and entertain, or even living works of art aimed at letting someone quite literally become the creature that they portray themselves as. In only a few short decades, we've managed to create a culture that is unique to our particular way of life. We host conventions that bring in people in the thousands from all over the world for the sake of celebrating who we are. Historically, we've welcomed people of all ages, from every walk of life imaginable. So why now am I seeing people berated, ridiculed, and even attacked by others in our community, simply for having grown older? For a lot of us, furry is part of our identity, something we connect with in a way that people may not understand. It becomes as much a part of us as the personas we use to portray ourselves, and for some, being forced to give up part of who they are is a terrifying concept. Many of us find the community at a young age. For example, I personally joined the community back in '98 when I was just 10 years old. Through the community, I found a way to socialize at a time in my life when I had been an outcast pretty much everywhere else. Being a furry taught me to be proud of who I am, and eventually helped me find the courage to come out as gay when I was a teenager. In a way, finding the fandom saved my life as well. I found friends through this community who have helped me through some of the darkest times in my life. Our community means the world to me, and to be quite honest, I doubt I'd be the same person today had I never become a part of it. I grew up in this community. I've spent a majority of my life surrounded by the art, the literature, and culture that connects us. I even met the man I'm going to marry because of my interactions within it. Since turning 30, though, I've often been told that I'm far too old for the fandom, and that I should act more my age and forget about the community that helped me discover so much about myself. I've been ridiculed and harassed for my age by furs who are only a decade my younger, simply because I'm older than they are. I've even been attacked by people who assume that I'm some sort of predator simply for wanting to remain a part of it. What these people don't see, though, is the history that I've lived through. They define me and those like me by our age without a thought to what they could learn if they simply stopped to listen. I lived through the rise and fall of the burned furs and other groups like them. I stood shoulder to shoulder with so many other members of our community when we fought for our right to live and love as we choose, regardless of gender or gender identity. I've watched as our community's reach grew from a few IRC servers and small conventions to the global phenomenon that we've become. I've watched people become heroes of our community, celebrating their accomplishments and triumphs. I've even shared in the heartache at the loss of some of our greatest members. I've suffered persecution for simply being a furry as well, though this was from outsiders who simply assumed the worst about me and the community I chose to be a part of. I grew up being targeted for my interest in the fandom, being accused of being a deviant and criminal by naive or misinformed individuals who thought that being a furry meant I must have some mental deficiency or some sort of unhealthy attraction to animals. In fact, a lot of us who were openly part of the furry community between the late 90s through the 2000s were often targeted by goons, a fitting term for members of an anti-fur forum back in the day called Something Awful. My own encounter with a group of them actually led to me being hospitalized, having been beaten nearly to death by a group of 4 bat-wielding members of something awful at a local mall. Regardless of the dangers it posed or the personal risks associated with being a furry back then, a lot of the older members of our community stood their ground, and because of them, a lot of the horrors we faced back then are, for the most part, a thing of the past. Now, there are still those who frequent places similar to the old Something Awful forums, and while similar sites such as Kiwi Farms do exist, there are far fewer people within these groups today who are willing to go to such extremes. Switching to a more positive subject, however, it's also thanks in no small part to our older members that a number of the things we enjoy exist, such as conventions like Anthrocon, Further Confusion, and Biggest Little FurCon. Those of us who have been a part of this community long enough tend to find a way to give back, be it through various charities, or coordinating various activities such as local fur meets, or the hosting of various community sites like Furry and Anthrodex, or even the upkeep of places like the Prancing Skilltear, which has over the years aided numerous displaced furs, and serves as a sort of museum for all things furry. Now, you'd think that there would be a healthy amount of respect for the people who have done so much for our community, but sadly, that isn't the case. There's a growing number of people in our community who believe that people above a certain age should be forced out, but what they don't realize is they would, in a way, be exiling the people who created the community that they enjoy today. And why, you might ask? There seems to be a growing belief that anyone over a certain age in our community must obviously be a predator of some kind. After all, there's no way that any of us old furs could hold any appreciation for cartoons or funny little animated animals, right? There's no possible way that any of us could have grown up as a part of the fandom, right? Sadly though, regardless, it seems there are quite a few furs out there who truly believe that there should be an age limit on who can and cannot be a furry. And for those of you watching this who might hold such a belief, ask yourself this: where will I be when I'm their age? Will you walk away from the community that welcomed you with open arms? Or will you stay and try to give back, remaining a furry until the end regardless of those who might judge you by your age? Personally, I know where I'll be, because for me, the furry community is both my home and my grave, and when I finally cross over that rainbow bridge, I'll look forward to giving our friends and fallen heroes that long-awaited hug.